안녕하세요. 저는 리안입니다.
안녕하세요. 저는 Lu입니다. We're talking about the TV series, which is Extraordinary Attorney Woo. It's just to give you the actual summary, but it's a K-drama, and it's about a law attorney who has autism. She's on the spectrum, and basically, like most people with autism, battles with everyday interactions. She's super intelligent, and she's really good at her job. But she works at a law firm, and it's a really fantastic, warm drama. It's not really political, which is what I enjoy about it, in the sense that it's not a very heavy drama. It's more of like kind of a light-hearted drama. I'm like on the latest episode, so I'm waiting with bated breath for the next one. Lean is a little bit behind on it.
I like to binge watch them when there's like a whole bunch of episodes to watch, so I waited.
Lean.
Yes.
Okay. Like the character in Attorney Woo, you guys have something in common.
Yes.
What
We're
is
both
that?
autistic.
Okay, so you're both on the spectrum.
Yes.
Okay.
Very autistic. And despite what people say who know me that we're not very alike, I happen to think we are very alike, and it's not maybe obvious to some people, but that's what we're going to talk about today.
Are you going to be okay with that? You're good?
Yeah, I'm good. It's not a secret. It's something I share on my social media quite often, and I'm in plenty of support groups for people who are younger than me that need some support with autism, so I'm cool with it. I'm fine.
Let's talk a little bit about you first before we go into Attorney Woo. Tell me a little bit about your childhood being somebody who's on the spectrum.
Well, I wasn't actually diagnosed until I was in my later life. I didn't actually know I was autistic when I was younger. I just knew that I wasn't the same as everybody else. I knew that everything seemed so much harder than how everybody else got on with in their life.
Yeah.
I knew that I was the weird kid because kids would tell me I was the weird kid, and I always seemed to collect a mismatch of oddball children as friends. Like the popular kids and the normal kids didn't really understand me, so I always ended up with friends that were a little bit weird. And that's was like my first indication that I wasn't like everyone else, but I didn't know what it was.
So can you tell us a little bit about what signs you had that showed that you were possibly autistic, and that the challenges that and how you've changed since then?
Okay, so autism is like having a different brain wiring. It's like you operate on Windows 10 and my brain works like a Mac. We both function in life, but you just do things differently to me. You have a different dashboard, you have different keys to input commands. I was a very literal thinker as a child, and I didn't understand people's emotions, or when someone speaks to me, I can't read people's like facial emotions. I can't understand their tone, so I missed jokes. I didn't understand when people were sad or angry, and when they gave me a literal, like if they said, for example, grab a chair, which in Scotland means go and get a seat and bring it and sit here beside me, I was the kid that would pick up a chair and just stand there and be like, what now? What am I supposed to do with this? Because I didn't understand like social, like normal things that other kids understood. So I think that was how I first realised there was something wrong with my brain. Because everyone else would look at me like, this kid is so stupid.
And did you have tics? So did you have like...
I have tics, yeah.
Tics like with the hands and the...
I have all the things that you see Attorney would do, but a lifetime of having kids pick on you for those things teaches a lot of us something called masking. And masking is when you teach yourself to put forward a normal presentation as a person that includes controlling your tics, controlling your mannerisms, controlling your hands, because yes, I'll walk around with my hands up all day long. I'm a very finger person, but controlling them. I have facial tics too, which is when I'm tired they come out more. I'll squint my nose, I'll I do weird things with my face, which is normal in kids with autism. But yeah, we have a lot of mannerisms, but I learned over the years to hide them. And I actually had a friend who, whenever she saw me doing something she considered weird, she would slap my hands down, and that kind of, it's not a good thing, but in a way it was. It taught me how not to behave in certain ways that drew attention to myself.
And
she reminds me a lot of Attorney Wu's best friend, actually. I laughed when I seen who she ends up best friends with, because it was literally practically the same thing. I moved school in my second year of high school, so I was just 12 but turning 13, and we moved 200 miles. And I moved to this little Highland school where nobody knew me, and like I was brand new to there. And this girl was the tough, badass school bully that everyone was afraid of. She was a total tomboy, walked around in big biker boots and t-shirts with like Guns N' Roses on. She smoked and she drank. She was only 12. She had boyfriends and everything, and she was always fighting with kids. And there was me in my dresses, and I was very different to how I am now. I was Attorney Wu in school. I was very quiet and girly, and I would look at my feet all the time, and I wasn't very sociable. I was aware that I was a weirdo. And the first time she ever came up to me, she said, "You look like a kid that everyone's going to pick on." That was the first thing she said to me.
Like suppressing your tics and suppressing your autism. How do you feel about it now?
I grew up kind of normally. I had jobs, I went to college, I had boyfriends, I had friends, and nobody ever knew. Like, they knew there was something, but they just thought I was quirky. But I had to work so hard, and it was exhausting. My whole life, always being aware. Even now, I'm still always aware. I'm aware when I talk to people. I'm really bad with eye contact, and that's something that I've had to learn to fake. I'm really bad with interactions with certain people. I find that if I meet someone on the spectrum, I can get on with them great. Like, it's easy, we can just talk, we just get each other. But talking to people that are not on the spectrum, I have to adopt that persona that I've taught myself to be my entire life. So yeah, it's hard, but in a way I'm glad that I didn't go through life being more obvious like Attorney Wu.
So do you still battle with eye contact?
Mm-hmm. So if somebody's staring at me and they've got really good eye contact, I look from one pupil to the other. I'll focus really hard on their pupil, and I'll move from one to the other so it doesn't look like I'm staring at them like this. I'll look from side to side, but I'm always conscious of how long I look at them, so that I'll look away sometimes, and sometimes I'll focus here on their face or down here. As long as it's around the eye area, then they think I'm making good eye contact with them, but I'm uncomfortable the whole time. The only people I'm comfortable with eye contact with is people I'm really close to, and even then, I'll still, sometimes you'll have a whole conversation with me staring away from you, and that's me in my most comfy state. It's a weird thing to have a problem with, but it's the most common thing on the spectrum.
So what about touch?
Very much like Attorney Wu, I do not like being touched, but I do not mind affection and being touched by people that are my people. And some days I'm okay more than others. Like, some days I'm okay if one of my friends comes up and gives me a hug or touches me, and then sometimes I'm not. But generally 99% of the time, I don't like being touched. So I have sensory processing disorder, which not everyone with autism has. And in Attorney Wu, that's, you know, when she's wearing her headphones and she covers her ears, I do that. And it's not that loud noises freak me out. It's way more complex than that. My hearing is on one level. So low noises, medium noises, and loud noises, they're all kind of here. So the far away low noise and the loud noise hearing you talking, they'll all be around my head at once, and then add another big noise to that, and that's when I'll cover my ears. And it's like my brain stutters. So when you see me getting very introverted, if we're in a noisy place, and I'll maybe fall back, or you'll see me like keeping on touching my head, that usually means the noise is really getting to me. And there's two ways to deal with that. There's one, just keep us walking till we get out of that space and just not speak to me, because adding more noise to that noise actually makes me very agitated. And the other way is to stop and just wait and let me cover my head until it goes away. Like there's not really I try not to do this in public, but sometimes I do.
There was the last episode of Attorney Woo, there was a gentleman who took advantage of another disabled girl. I think a lot of times people on the spectrum are very much innocent, think the best of people, naive in a lot of ways, and I think that is very much a negative thing that happens in society, the stereotyping that happens around autism. So what is your experience with that?
So I've experienced all of that. When I was younger, I was very much the person that got taken advantage of. I've been in some relationships that were very bad, and the person completely took advantage of my naivety. And being autistic, you mature slower, so even though your age is 18, 19, you're mentally more like 14, 15. There's a lot that you don't understand, and I was very much that kid. In my 20s, I was still like a 15-year-old, so it was very easy for men that I dated to take advantage of that. But autistic people, they don't really lose that. They don't lose that youth, and it's not because we are immature. I think it's because we don't lose the way we look at the world as children do.
How far do you think society needs to go still to understand autism?
I think looking at some of the comments that Attorney Woo has brought up, some of the questions that people ask, tells you there's so much education needed about autism. People are very ignorant of it. They believe that the stereotypical Rain Man is what autism is, or the kid that can't speak, or the kid who's mentally still stuck at the age of 7. Yeah, all of those are autism, but they're only the smallest percent. It's a spectrum. There's so many of us that are different. Autism is like an umbrella. You can have traits on all the pieces of the umbrella at different levels. You're still autistic, even if you're on the low spectrum and you can't function as an adult. Or like me, I'm high functioning, but I still have the same troubles that someone who is non-verbal has. I just have them in different ways. And people don't realize this. We can be 100% functioning in society with jobs like an attorney, author, have children, have relationships. One thing that I have noticed with the Attorney Woo storyline is I'm really happy they gave her a love interest, because in a lot of spectrum shows that I've been on in the past, it's the thing they always avoid. And I like the fact that they made her, she's high functioning, but she has very noticeable traits and very noticeable mannerisms that you cannot miss that she's autistic. And the fact that they gave her a completely normal NT neurotypical love interest is something I love the most about it, because yes, that happens. And I think from my take, I like the fact that she was very juvenile, immature in some ways, but she's very capable, and she's very with it in other ways. And the fact that they added romance to that, just like anybody else can go and fall in love, to me it was just perfectly done. It added something extra to it, because quite a lot of the time they don't think we can have relationships, we can have marriages and children, and I like that about Attorney Woo storyline. I actually had this conversation with Ross the other day. There's only so long I can take him touching my skin. If he's being affectionate and he takes my hand, or if he puts his hand on my leg and he strokes my skin with his thumb, I can only take it for not even a minute, I'll for so long, and then I'll be right, enough now. I'm so hard. Just stop touching me. But he knows, he's been with me long enough, he knows there's only so much I can take. It's not unwanted touch, but there is a lot. I do like the fact that he takes a kind of teacher role with her. I think that's very true in autistic NT relationship. Everyone that I know that is on the spectrum who dates someone that's not autistic, it seems to happen naturally, where the partner who's not on the spectrum takes a kind of guardian role. It's even true in my relationship. Like, I don't know how many times Ross tells me sometimes he feels like I'm a child. And he teaches me things that you wouldn't think to teach someone my age.
So the actress Park In-bin has done a really, really good job.
I've been watching the clips, like the mannerisms and the behaviours, and she's 100% pulls it off completely. Like, I would actually think that was truly an autistic person they cast in that role. Yeah, I definitely, if I had to watch it without knowing anything about it, I genuinely would have thought that was an autistic person they cast. She's really good. I praise her, commend her. She pulls it off, amazing. And it's not so overdone. It's not every stereotype pulled out of the bag to make her like so obviously autistic. It's just enough. Yep, I think that's pretty much everything. We can wrap this video up and we can say goodbye. And we hope you learned something today, even if it was a little tiny thing about autism. So goodbye from me.
Bye from Lou.